Spooky Month started as a small 1.5 minute animation to celebrate October, which many people refer to as Spooky Month these days as a month-long celebration of Halloween. The series creator, Senor Pelo, has continued to release a new sequence every fall. Each episode gets a bit longer and a bit more serious, but remains true to its roots as a simple, funny web series by focusing more on fun and humor than anything else. Episode 1 introduces us to the main characters Skid and Pump, two boys in Halloween costumes that love Spooky Month more than anything else in life. The first episode is just less than 2 minutes of them doing funny Spooky Month gags. The segment ends with it becoming November, and Skid's mother revealing it's time for Christmas. Skid and Pump end up calling it the Spook Before Christmas, indicating that Spooky Month is never going to end for them. It's a silly minute and a half of fun, but it really captured people's hearts with its simple but concise character design for the kids and their costumes, and even their mother, who would go on to be played by Elsie Lovelock, who most of you know from Hazbin Hotel, as well as Murder Drones. Episode 2 really sets the tone for the series, increasing the length to 6 minutes and featuring the kids getting lost in a real spooky adventure. In this episode, they are tricked by a few bullies into going to one of their uncle's houses, which they claim is having a spooky party. This uncle is just one of many criminals in the show who seem to be kidnapping children. They are rescued, however, by an eldritch god who reaches across time and space to pull the kids out, and they of course end up teaching him about Spooky Month and the Spooky Month dance. This eye-filled demon keeps telling the kids to look at the stars, and seems to be able to watch the world through the stars, scattered like his eyes, and we thus are able to look back at him through those stars. This is a very Lovecraftian idea, H.P. Lovecraft of course being the famous author responsible for the eldritch horrors and tentacled monsters like Cthulhu. However, the idea of stars as eyes of God, or at least being emanations of God watching over humans, is something found in ancient myths as well. Lovecraft really just put a more horrifying twist on this sort of idea, which plays out great in the show Spooky Month. The idea of this being a sort of monster representing our universe is a lot of fun, but the idea that he's watching all of us and just wants to learn spooky dances from us is even more so. The third episode is interesting because it continues this use of a singular villain instead of a series of sketches, but it pulls one of the characters from back in episode 1 to be its primary antagonist. In that first episode, we saw a series of random gags of the boys just palling around and doing spooky stuff, and one of those gags was saying they were going to prank call someone. They then used a Ouija board to summon a demon, who Skid claims is named Moloch. Moloch is famously known from the Bible as the deity that seemingly wanted the sacrifice of a firstborn child in order to bless the life of the parents. The concept of child sacrifice in earlier times, particularly in the ancient Near East, is hotly debated, and there is a lot of conflicting evidence about it. In his book, Child Sacrifice in Ancient Israel, Heath Duell goes deep into the history and etymology surrounding Moloch, and lays out evidence of Moloch at one point being a reference to the practice of child sacrifice itself as a whole, but in other times referring to a specific deity to make that sort of sacrifice too. And this is not uncommon for ancient words that had their usage changed over hundreds or even thousands of years. Moloch is posited in this book to be a practice that originated not so much as a dark sacrifice to an evil deity, but almost like a funeral service for sick newborns, and in times of poor nutrition, this was often almost always the firstborn child. Following their death, a mother was more likely to get pregnant again and have a stronger child, whereas caring for a sick newborn who is likely to die within a few months or years would just be a drain on the mother that could lead to the next child coming out just as sick or even worse off. As nutrition and health standards got better, even in ancient times, this practice would be phased out for humans, but would often still remain when it came to farm animals, as sacrificing the firstborn calf would lead to the next child being born stronger and healthier. Moloch is known for supposedly wanting to eat your children, so it's fun he was summoned by two kids, seemingly wanting to eat them, but then gets trapped halfway through the Ouija board. Apparently 2 years had passed since Moloch got stuck here, and the noises he would make caused Skid's mother, Leela, to call a rat exterminator, thinking they just had pests. This Moloch was able to then possess the exterminator and become sort of a purple hybrid, desperate to get revenge on the boys and their mother Leela, who both boys really adore, and it's really charming how they revere her. The boys managed to defeat Moloch by claiming he isn't Moloch at all, technically true as he had possessed the exterminator, and they convince him to twist his head all the way around to prove he's really a demon. Despite his demonic appearance, he is in a human-ish body, and trying this just snaps his neck. The real kicker about this episode, however, is that it sets up the next episode by introducing the concept of Goodfellas. Now, anyone who is familiar with the Chucky franchise is well aware of where this episode is going, but of course, being a bit of a parody series, the formula really gets inverted. This 4th episode is 21 minutes long, more than twice the length of the previous episode, and mostly focuses on how this poor little Chucky knockoff just can't catch a break. The boys really enjoy having a possessed doll, but no matter what the Chucky doll does, someone always intervenes and stops him from being a murderous monster. The episode ends with the mom realizing the doll is possessed and trying to protect the boys, and there's just something really special about the way that the boys get mad at the doll and kind of defend their mother, while she's also trying to save them, and they're just oblivious to the real issue here. Part of what really made this show fun to watch is seeing how much fans really love these little details, some of them perhaps not even intentional, but it makes for a really wholesome and authentic feeling adventure. The 5th episode of this series does another callback to the original by having a random murderer in a demon costume be the main villain. Originally, the mom just gave him some candy in the 1st episode and he did the spooky dance and things were fine, but now he's out for revenge against her and the boys. Leela, of course, is voiced by Elsie Lovelock later in the series and becomes kind of the main character of the show at this point. The boys being her adorable little monsters that she just tries so desperately to keep safe from the horrors that lurk around every corner that they seem to enjoy. And yet, even in June, she can't help but indulge the boys and tell them that it's Twin Spooky Month. The friendship of the boys is perhaps the purest expression of childhood friendship we see in movies and TV shows. So much today in TV is either very serious or it finds its comedy in having the characters insult each other, but Spooky Month really captures the feeling of just being a kid and enjoying some offbeat stuff for Halloween, but all year round with your best friends. The kids are just on a never-ending stream of fun ideas of what they should do with their time, and watching it will make you feel like a kid again. My favorite part of this episode is seeing Leela fight against the demon, and instead of reaching for the knife, she just squirts some lemon, slaps some hot bacon grease on him. It just gets me every time. A lot of what we review here are very serious cartoons, no matter how funny they can be, but it's gags like this that kind of bring me back to classic internet animation humor. This episode also shows a lot of the side characters really reaching peak development at the same time. I really love how the bully always gets his comeuppance in the show, and even his own friends are really over his behavior, and here in the most recent episode we see him starting to be a little better towards the end. The show releases a new episode every fall, sometimes after Halloween from what I see, but it's becoming something of a yearly internet tradition, and it's one that I hope only grows. The series has just reached a point where it's doing full 20-minute episodes each year, and this could be our modern internet version of Charlie Brown's Great Pumpkin Halloween special, but you know, with a new episode each year, and older ones to watch along the way. But what do you guys think? Did you watch Spooky Month? Did you enjoy it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time.